In such developmental projects, including the roads and bridges construction, how you make sure there is a participation from the locals, because these areas where many minorities, nationalities live, and there are concerns and even reports about human rights violations or issue like land grabbing, all these are there. I mean, it is not nothing to do with Indian side, but here it is local issues. Here.
I don't think these
How
are
you
issues.
make
You know, when we constructed the Tammu-Kalay highway, there were no such issues, and you know, I think everybody recognizes this to be a great boon to those places. None, you know, take the Kalewa-Yaji road. The road is already existent. We are just going to be upgrading it. The Tammu-Kalay-Kalewa bridges, the bridges are there, they are weak old bridges, we are going to be upgrading it. So there is no extra element. In the case of the Kaladan highway, this is going to be a new road. It is all in government land. There are no acquisition issues. Now, the basic project is a kind of gift from the government of India. It is Indian companies, and I think Myanmar has desired that they are Indian companies that are consultants and execute this project. But naturally, the engineers, in most cases, most of the engineers will come from India, but the contractors, subcontractors, the labor will be entirely from Myanmar. So this is not an investment. It's not that we are putting an investment that you have to pay us back. This is a gift. And even with that gift, a lot of the downstream money will be going to those who will be contributing and working for the project. In addition to the economic benefits that will come from the project, there will be huge investment benefits, there will be huge trade benefits, there will be huge transit benefits that will come from once these roads are completed. I talked about surface connectivity. But you also mentioned sea, and I suppose you would have liked to mention air as well.
Yeah, because we have now like once a week or twice a week flight between India and Myanmar, direct flights.
Right now we have three, two to Calcutta and Gaya, and one to Delhi, once a week to Delhi. We are working very hard with both Indian Airlines and with Myanmar Airlines to try to open some more routes. So far we have not been entirely successful, but we are continuing to work on that. This is an admittedly weak area. If you see air connectivity with Myanmar's other neighboring countries and even distant countries,
Myanmar, Vietnam,
there are more
daily
flights. So this is something that we need to seriously work on. Sea connectivity, you know, we had for about a year and a half, we had subsidized the Shipping Corporation of India to have direct flights between Chennai and Krishnapatnam ports in the East Coast and Yangon. Right now, and the hope was that in 1.5 years this would be self-sustaining. It hasn't quite happened, but the problem is it's not abandoned. We will continue to work on that. We are also expecting that some private shipping will step up, because in the meantime what has happened is our trade is also picking up. Previously the trade used to be mostly one way, mostly exports of agricultural products and forest products to India, very little exports from India. But now what we are seeing is that more and more exports are coming. Machinery, pharmaceuticals, cement, construction material, steel, things like that are coming in here. So we think that shipping will also be more viable. Long and short, I want to say is this, that, you know, if you just see the objective realities, India is a 2 trillion economy, ASEAN is a 2 trillion plus economy. India is growing at 7.5 to 7.8%, depending on whose statistics you pick up. There is already a certain impulse, momentum, energy that is going to be coming out of this economy. The very fact that our trade and investment levels are low because of historical reasons, going back up to the 60s, means that today we have the largest amount to catch up. Let's say if we think of Thailand or China, let's say their trade and investment is already about 60-70% saturated, whereas the Indian potential is 10% saturated. So you can actually expect that in the next 5-10 years, this should be the fastest growing trade and investment partner you have, provided we tap each other. See, there are two other gaps, I would say. One is connectivity, the second is information. We are neighbors, but over these last 50 years, we kind of turned our backs. We forgot that we were neighbors. Myanmar turned more eastward. We, just didn't have enough of strong people-to-people relationship growing because of conditions at that particular time. Now that is changing. That is changing, but we need to promote more information about Myanmar's economic potential in India and about what India can offer Myanmar in Myanmar. So we are doing a lot. I mean, I would say that in the last 2.5 years, we must have had at least 15 to 20 trade fairs, besides B2B, buyer-seller meets and seminars and things like this. We recently also had a specific focus on investment in Myanmar in the third CLMV, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam Business Conclave, which this year we held in Chennai, just to expose the CLMV countries to the potential of Chennai as an economic, so to say, powerhouse, an area where there's a lot of foreign investment, Japanese, Korean investment, and also a lot of domestic industry. And the third is banking. Investment and trade will be greatly facilitated and will follow, in fact, if there are banking channels. So we understand the Myanmar's banking industry is still in its infancy. It needs a little time to grow. We respect that. But even as Myanmar is opening and opportunities are opening up, I think it would be in order that Myanmar considers India as a banking partner as well, because otherwise you're not utilizing the potential of your geographical proximity, your cultural neighborhood over the centuries, your levels of economic development which are comparable. Maybe we are one generation in terms of reforms ahead, and ultimately also the market that you have and the growth of our economy. If you need to tap this growth, and our leaders, whether it was former Prime Minister or current Prime Minister, they very strongly believe that a prosperous India will be prosperous if there is a prosperous neighborhood. Our prosperity, your prosperity are linked. Our priority, the importance that we give to ASEAN and Myanmar is also connected with the fact that these are rising economies. And in rising economies, if the water rises, all boats rise.
You, with all this work you have been doing, including the exhibitions and the exchange between the two countries, between the business of two countries, do you really see an active tourism, or do you really see an active interest from the Indian business communities to come in? Because we have, as you know, we have not seen a rush of the Indian business coming to Myanmar for all the good reasons you have mentioned. But because Myanmar is opening up, Myanmar is inviting everyone, and many are coming, and there is huge competition as well. But do you really see that active interest from the Indian business groups to come and invest in Myanmar?
Absolutely. Again, I think it's a function of information. There's hardly a day when an Indian businessman doesn't knock at my door, number one. All the trade fairs that we have been very highly subscribed. Even when we have delegations from here taken to India, they have been very satisfied, very happy with what they saw in India. Very often, the feedback that we get at the end of trade fairs is very positive. That they had good business meetings, good business prospects. Many cases they found business partners. In other cases, they are still looking for business partners. Maybe right now, you are not seeing sort of the big names as yet. And big names, of course, because they have a more sort of greater need for due diligence before they move. But I think the country is ready, and I think our industries are ready. And from my interaction with the Indian industry, I see a lot of interest in coming here. Again, I said, what are the obstacles? The three obstacles that I mentioned to you: information, connectivity, and banking.
How about necessary mechanism? For example, like India-Myanmar investment protection agreement.
Right.
Because Myanmar already have 2-3
We also
such agreement is in place.
We already have an agreement like this in place with Myanmar. We have a joint trade committee at the level of ministers. We have something called the Joint Trade and Investment Forum, which is a CEO level forum, which met once and will meet, I think, sometime this year. We have a border heart committee. We have a border trade committee. So there's no lack of mechanisms. But I think that sort of chemistry maybe has not yet happened. But we recognize that it requires effort to make this happen. And we are seeing, we have a very strong commitment under a Minister of Commerce and Industry to see this relationship go ahead. Now, we had a very strong presence of Myanmar at Chennai, and we intend to follow this up with a dedicated business conclave on Myanmar in Myanmar, where, depending upon what we see are the opportunity areas and the area of need for Myanmar, we will invite sort of quality industry from India to come here to get acquainted, better acquainted, rules, regulations, everything. Myanmar also hasn't made any significant effort. While we have made a lot of trade and investment efforts in Myanmar, so far Myanmar has not made very significant efforts to invite Indian investment. I think that is also lacking. And we hope that the new government will realize the importance of the Indian economy and will take the initiatives that are appropriate to integrate and attract Indian industry for the development of Myanmar. I mean, this is simply, it's for both business and development of Myanmar. If you don't mind, Somi, I just would like to go back to, you asked me about what has happened in the last 3 years in terms of connectivity. And I would just like to update you as to what has happened. I did tell you some things about. But in the Kaladan, for example, the Sittwe port is almost ready. Say by April, by the rainy season, the port will be upgraded. The inland waterway didn't require much work. It's more or less ready. Some little dredging may be required here or there. And the inland port at Paletwa, which is a state-of-the-art inland jetty at Paletwa, will hopefully be ready by May, June also. So at least we will see the river and maritime component of the Sittwe project ready, and we will see the beginning of the TKK bridges. We will see the approval and hopefully commencement of the Kaleva-Yaji section of the road during the course of the year, and we will probably also be able to do that for the Retidim road. And give 3 years, 16, 17, 18, let's say maximum 19, all this will be operational. The whole land connectivity will be transformed. But there are other issues. You'll upgrade the port. Now, how will you use the port? So now the government of Myanmar, together with the government of India, need to think, we have upgraded the capacities. How are we going to use these upgraded capacities? What kind of port promotion measures, what kind of trade promotion measures that we can take, what kind of extra connectivity. Right now, the road from Sittwe to Minbya, you have to go all the way to Chau Tau and then come down and then go to An. If the Myanmar government could consider constructing a link between Punajun, it involves a bridge also, to Minbya, you cut short the driving distance by 6 to 8 hours. And that road is not very good. So now you need some additional investments to fully utilize these prospects. Port operation and promotion. We need to make some, because so long Sittwe has been mainly used for what? Coastal shipping within Myanmar, not even beyond Myanmar. Now we could start thinking of coastal shipping between India and Myanmar. So, there are many things we need to look at.